But our main topic for discussion this morning is the perennial discontent and it's the same debate that comes when the year is starting about exorbitant school charges, and the school fees crisis continues to hit hard the parents in this country. And as we celebrate the good performance in PLOE and UCE, and later on we'll be celebrating performance in Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education exams, then we must also look at how we can work out on the system to make it better. But specifically for this debate, we'll be looking at how government is moving to regulate school charges. 2 years ago, for 2 years now, government has made attempts to regulate school fees, and more especially in government-aided schools and government schools, but with little success. Actually, some people think that by issuing out circulars threatening schools and all that for all these 2 years, the Ministry of Education is not doing anything. It should have done much more than that. And it was an issue in Parliament, Honorable, this week. Members of Parliament were not happy about how the Ministry of Education has handled this issue. A policy, I think.
Explicit not happy?
Yes.
What about implicit?
Yes. The Ministry of Education actually has powers through the Education Act to use a statutory instrument to regulate fees in schools. But according to a statement, I think that was made by the State Minister for Primary Education, Honorable Muriku Kaduchu, a policy was designed through cabinet, but implementation is zero. Nothing has been done about it, and the parents continue to suffer with the exorbitant school charges, including students being asked to bring paint, bring brushes, bring all sorts of things, and on top of very huge school fees. I looked at a copy of a receipt that was circulating on social media, I think this and the other week. A secondary school charging 4.5 million, secondary school, just here in Kampala. But, well, it tells about how access to education in Uganda is becoming increasingly difficult. And let me quickly start with you, Honorable, because this issue was in Parliament. What do you?
And he also has a school.
Yes. Yes. Do you think there is really need for government to intervene and regulate school fees?
It is the duty of government to regulate. It's the duty of government to fast track on legal paths of this country. But what do Ugandans want? The aspirations of Ugandans are enshrined in the 29 objectives of the Constitution of Uganda. Objective number 18 is about educational objectives. Number 18, educational objectives. And what are these? For us to, shape this discussion about this topic you have just brought, it would be better for me, if you allow, Mr. Apollo, that we go through the educational objectives.
Do it very fast. Do it.
We did this by 8th of October 1995 on the promulgation of this Constitution. Number 1, educational objectives. Number 1, the state shall promote free and compulsory basic, well-crafted basic
education
you are talking about primary, maybe lower secondary, or secondary generally. 2, the state shall take appropriate measures to afford every citizen, afford, not accord, afford every citizen equal opportunity to attain the highest education standard possible. Afford them. The women 1.5, what not like that, this issue of district quotas, the PWD and others. You are affording them the highest educational levels and the standards possible. But 3 is very restrictive. Individuals, religious bodies, and other non-governmental organizations shall be free to found and operate educational institutions. If, not this, Apollo and our viewers, if they comply with the general educational policy of the country and maintain national standards. And it is the 3rd level, which now brings me to the Education Act as amended 2008. I spoke of this in Parliament, especially on the curriculum. On Wednesday, last Wednesday, I did that. Now, it is upon the government to regulate. If you saw the minister reading the statement, she was concentrating more on 1, government schools, 2, government-aided schools. She almost avoided private institutions. We have 3 categories here: government schools, government-aided schools, and private schools. What are these? Government schools are very few in this country. Extremely very, very few. Where government, or the new policy now, and I'm happy with my government, when I was LC5 in Manafa, if you are getting a secondary seed school, it's never affiliated to any church. No, they don't want that. Which is clear, because we have problems with these private but aided schools, especially. But during the 60s, on the advent of independence, certainly we had to shape the education of this school in this country. Now, government aided. These are private schools but aided by government, and most of them are religious founded schools. Actually, they are private but aided by government. Mr. Apollo, the Act 2008 does not segregate, like I've read. Any school must abide by the law, by the standards, by all another instructions given from time to time, whether from the ministry or anything like that. However, the level where Ugandans have reached delve into the demographic movements of this country, especially educationally. You ask Dr. Wanjala, how much do they pay in Bubutu? Possibly it was in the Bubutu SES. How much? No school in the East, secondary especially, pays over 1 million. Actually, even reaching above 500,000 per term, nobody will come there. Not in the East. You are talking about the Central here. Central. The other day, one of my honorable members from Ikira, he was diverting attention and telling us that the president has a school Simanyizit in Barara, where he is the president himself charging.
Yeah, I think that was disputed by the honorable MP from the area. It was disputed, but it's not true.
Very unfortunate. For me, a member of parliament, to always target one family, target one individual, target Dr. Wanjala or my brother Baguma, and insistently, sustainedly, that's wrong. That's okay. But that's not the story. Now, what we are saying, the education democratic movements in this country, the periphery of the country, yes, not very good standards. In my school, I can't go beyond 300,000. A boarding child. Not 300,000. Actually, you will struggle. I've just been solving a problem of my former school, a government-aided school, Catholic founded, where the head teacher wanted to increase school fees by 20,000. 20! And he almost created a riot with the parents. Completely.
Are you saying, Honorable, that for you in your area, you have managed to curtail the urge from these school administrators to increase school fees and charge
not the
exorbitant?
urge, the parents are conscious and they have no money. Where Dr. Wanzala comes from, they have no money. You will say you want 500,000 from where? They don't have that.
So you agree?
I want to show you this. Where the country has reached, like it was during colonial times, that we had the Gayazas, the Nabingos, and wherever, for purposes of the center, that people would come from other parts of the country to get the best education here. So it is even today. This issue of becoming so ostentatious, to the extent that Apollo, who may be earning 50,000 from here, will take a child to a school of 2 million. Kindergarten, possibly. If I started a school in Kampala here, in Mukona I have some good land. If I started a school and I said, please, all kindergarten, bring at 100,000, people would frown on the ends. What? What? It can't work. Because maybe we have developed to levels of ostentatious expenditure. Is it on the schools? Is it on the schools?
But you see, Honorable,
yes.
It's natural.
Yes.
It's natural that every person would want something better. So it is in education that every parent wishes that his kids get or acquire quality and standard education. So that's natural. And if you have a country, if you live in a country where there are different standards in education, then of course they will always want to do what? To go for the best. And from the provision of the Constitution that you just read,
Yes.
it is indicated that it is the mandate of government to ensure that every citizen acquires equal opportunity, are given equal opportunity
Exactly.
to access that education,
And the
quality education.
Government has done that. I
Really?
wish to tell you this. Government has done that. This government, at least I'm old enough to have seen the other governments. Yes, they tried their best during that tumultuous time. And this government has done that through school facility grant, building classrooms, fitting them with the books, and also recruitment of teachers, especially at basic level of primary. They have tried. The other issue which you must understand, Baguma, everything is ostentatious.
Okay.
I may buy a soda here, even inscribed on the lead up 1,000. But I can prefer to go to Sheraton and buy it at 10,000. The other day I had a seminar in Sheraton and I wanted a cappuccino, they wanted 50,000. They said, no, I have no money like that.
So honorable, you blame it on parents who want to live outside their limits, who want to go for expensive schools,
Yes.
when actually they cannot afford that particular education.
My English is not very good because I didn't even dream in Rugisu, Dr. Wanzala knows. I dream in Rugisu because this is the tribe.
But is that your argument?
Yes, my argument. Yes, I mean I don't see why you should they were insinuating about the minister and quoting his school. Seta. Just because he's a minister, that's not okay. But I want to ask you: you have an MP in your area?
Yeah, I do.
Possibly a younger one. He has primary kids and whatever. Ask them if their children are within either their district or the nearby region. All children are here. You will find only Rastaman. with children back
in Namisi.
in Namisi.
Finally, from you, the same question I asked in the beginning. Do you agree that indeed government needs to intervene and regulate school fees?
I should tell you the law.
And final, and
Yes.
two, do you see it doing it? Has it actually played its part?
It is good at times to be a roaring lion, especially an old lion roaring and not biting. Even a small antelope will pass around to tease you. You get me right? Now, the law is clear. Every school in this country must have a management, what I would call governance structure. Board of governors,
Yeah.
Then the management, parents management, and whatever we have created, PTAs and others, recognized by the law. Now, before you get upgrade school fees or any other which will affect the parents, you must be cleared by the minister. The minister, you get me right? Of course, through the structures. Do we respect that kind of thing?
Okay.
Do we respect?
So-
We don't care. But over saying, 4 million here, what not, it is upon and it is the choice of Ugandans, those who want to spend the money. You have seen it, somebody buying a soda at 10,000, taking half or a third of it and leaving it there. You are donating. So if they are donors to whoever they want to donate, what is wrong with it? I don't go for private institutions. But in any case, we even have government-aided institutions, church-founded, which are heavily exorbitant. I don't want to name them here. But it is your choice, Apollo. I've never been
Okay, if government cannot regulate even those education institutions that it controls, gives money, aids with our taxpayers' money, don't you think that is a
But
disservice?
you have the alternative. Government has
What
put
is the alternative?
Which you condemn and demonize. Why do I take my child to Namisi? These are poor because we are in the
You
rural
said
area.
that you said that even government schools
Yes.
are charging exorbitant fees.
Government
So government has not even regulated its own schools.
predominantly government aided, not government schools. Government aided. Government aided are private,
I know.
assisted by government. They assist them with teachers, habitations, and others. When you go to Gayaza, it's a private school, but assisted by government.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Dr. Gerardo Ranzala, we will be going for a break in 10 minutes, but use those 10 minutes to tell us what you think about government being reluctant in intervening while parents and caretakers of learners are crying.
Thank you very much. Apple, I want to first of all recognize that we have a dual system where we have the private sector contributing to education and also the government contributing to education. I also want to emphasize that even these government-aided schools that were founded by churches, if you go and look at majority of them in the country, like Ubuntu SS, where I come from, and others, the church is not putting anything other than the land where the school was constructed. Now, what does it mean? That actually it's the government that is paying almost 100% of teacher salaries. The government, like you know that we got a big loan from the Global Partnerships for Education to rehabilitate these schools, meaning that still it's the government that is trying to rehabilitate them, not the church or the individuals. But the government also has the responsibility not only to provide education, but to ensure that there is equity, there is access, and that the education is also quality. Now, looking at the results, for instance, of UCE, the highest concentration of the good results are within central region, and then you jump a certain few districts in western Uganda. Then there are districts in this country that cannot even get a grade 1 They are there. Like our friends in Karamoja who are always forgotten.
Districts.
Then there are schools that were very powerful that now when they get maybe 3 first grade, they are actually marching on the road celebrating, especially up-country schools. So now this means what comes into the parents' minds is that probably good education is in the center and probably we must pay more. But now me, I wouldn't have a problem with edupreneurs, I would call them. Yes, like him, charging whatever amount they do what they want, because it is a choice of the parent to go in that school. But then when it comes to government aided schools, I think there should be a threshold. Why? I have very good intelligence in this country that there are powerful schools of government in central here, Kampala, Wakiso, Mukono, where they know they are going to admit, for instance, 150 children. Then they will admit 30 or 40 or 50. Then they say they have a headmaster's list. And then you go and find a head teacher sitting like a king in the office, parents who have good grades, but whose children were not selected are lining up in hundreds, and they have to pay money for their children to access those schools. So you cannot tell me that as a responsible government, you cannot reign on such errant school administrators. Actually, me, I reached a conclusion in this country that we have too much presence of the state in some areas when it comes to politics, and Bobby Wine put a political rally there, you'll see police trucks arriving in the minute at the quickest time possible, because there is politics involved. Where there is delivery of services, there is a lot of absence of the state. There are areas in this country that we cannot ignore. One of them is education. We should ensure, because if education is not accessible, or if the outcomes are not so good from the education, you'll see it playing within our public
all other
life. You'll see it that some regions are left very, very low, while others are progressing. You will see that when it comes to access to jobs, certain people will get access to jobs and others will not get access to jobs. You will see some areas with so many thieves that are beating you at night, and then you'll need a fence.
So did you, Dr. care to find out possibly what could be the reasons as to why government is reluctant to move and address those issues and somehow put the foot on the ground, and implement the regulations to lower down and possibly create a balance in school charges or access to education?
Surely I cannot read their heads, and I wouldn't want to make allegations that because some of them in government own schools, because I don't have proof yet that could be a motivation.
Could it because we have policymakers who also own private schools? Like Honorable Musira said, that we should not be actually choosing some officials in government who have schools.
Yes, I know, but you know, we have an example here in the neighboring Rwanda. They took a deliberate decision to invest more in public schools. These are government-aided schools, providing teachers, providing ICT facilities, laboratories, and schools improved. So people started moving their children away from private schools and were charging less to public schools, because then they would not see that reason. But to the contrary here, we see that actually, I would use this example, in Namisindwa, apart from Bubutu Secondary School, the only government school doing very well, his school has been performing quite well. So in other words, people will say, oh, maybe instead of the other choice, let me take it to Honorable's school. But we need deliberate action to improve public schools, because why should you go and see an admission letter? I'll give an example. And then tuition is 500,000. And then development fee is $1 million. It is more than tuition. And then you have admission fees 500 commitment fees. Before you know it, but these costs do not actually make sense.
Oh, yeah.
If you really critically look at item by item, then you have trends of where people now are asking for a lot of physical things and they end up in hardwares. Like someone, every time, why should you ask for a rake? How long does a rake take in a school? And then every time you want it,
Well, this is the dialogue, and we continue to interrogate the controversy around government moving to regulate schools, school charges. And we'll be going for a short break, but when we return, the Honorable Musira John, Dr. Jared Werihe Wanjala, and Richard Baguma will be, of course, taking on this particular issue, especially why is government not even regulating its schools, the government schools and government-aided schools. I think that should be a starting point before it moves to private schools. And 2 years down the road, the minister is saying we issued circulars and threats, but some people think that these are just temporary threats if nothing is being done on the ground. Richard Baguma will start the second hour. Let's go for a break and return after this short while. Don't go away.